Hello YouTube. Right, today I'm going to be talking about multiband dynamics and in particular multiband gating on drum breaks. Fanu on YouTube, and I saw his video. They're a few years old now, but I only stumbled across something this week, so I've had to go myself. But he was talking about gating certain like frequency bands within your lows, mids, and highs. And that takes away a lot of the rumble from old classic drum breaks. Obviously, the way they're recorded, live drummers and things like that. Lots of low-end rumble off vinyl, sampling and things like that. So, so yeah, today I'm just going to be talking about that with a think break again. Already on a previous video I've shown you, I'll put a link into that in the description. I've shown people how to beef up breaks using like layering techniques, with sort of kick drums and snares, things like that, hi-hats. Today it's just going to be all about the drum break itself, so getting the most out of the sample, without any layering whatsoever. So I've done this on 2 breaks so far this week, and the think break has come out absolutely amazing for me. And then I did it yesterday on the Blowfly Sesame Street break, which is another classic jungle break. So before I yab on too much, here we go. Let's get into it. So, the original break is off Lyn Collins, like I said. Think About It. Particular one goes like this. So if we load this in, it's this bit in particular I really like on the break. So we just took this part here. Chop that up, and then I basically split. I don't know how you do this on FL that well, so if there's someone else that could show me how to split frequency ranges without having to put them on separate channels, that'd be awesome. Might be a really long way of doing it, but hey, it worked for me, and that's the main thing. So what I did was, for each break here, I've got lows, mid, and high, and they're all on individual channels. Lows, mid, high, and they get bussed to one channel, which is the main channel that they all go into. So I can control the lows, mids, highs, volume, and everything else. Compress them if I want, and do some processing on them. EQing. The EQing will come tomorrow. I'll do another video on that tomorrow. So yeah. This is, so I'll show you the low end first. This is, I think on the end channel I've got a Maximus running just so it doesn't clip, and also just to bring out more in the break, but don't know why it's popping a bit. Just copy that value. It might be because it's so loud. Yeah, there we go. So here you can see, basically what I did was, originally I set each band to, I found the frequency where, so this on the low end is the frequency that I found, like the kick is pulling out more, and then a slight bit at the bottom of the snare. So too much there. So there, sounds about right. So because all the bands need to be the same on each Maximus, I copied the value of the low end and then put that onto the Maximus on the other 2 bands, so the mids and the highs. There and there. From there, when I got to the mids, so if I just play the mids by itself, take away that. Again, this is just pulling out the best of the mids. Really, it's all by ear. You might do it differently to me, but again, playing around with this. As you can probably hear on that, there's too much high end, so. So I found at that point it's just dull enough. There's not like overly harsh highs in there, and it obviously isn't the low end's taken care of, so I can use it. The high ends, once again, self-explanatory. Same thing once again. Just taking out the highs, as you'll hear. So yeah, I mean, reload that back up, just so I haven't lost anything. So within each one, this is where like you can take apart some of the rumble and things like that. This is where we get to the gating side of it. So after the Maximus has been set on all the individual band levels, I then put a limiter on just to use the noise gate. I don't use the limiter. I make sure the limiter is actually whacked up full, so there's no limiting whatsoever on anything like that. Just have a sip of me tea. Yorkshire tea, nice. Right, so with the limiting on this, basically you try and retain as much as the original sound you can, but using like headphones and monitors and things like that, you can really hear the rumble in certain parts of breaks, and you can take away a lot of that by using the noise gate, like here. So, I mean that's it in full. You know, so if I just play the low, I don't know why it's all. Oh, that's why. I don't know why it's popping out loads. Strange that. Anyway, on this one, take the limiter off. You might be able to hear. There's just so much like rumble on that. You can almost like hear the boom 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 boom, boom like kind of underneath it. So the idea is to take away so if reset that again, just up to here about that. Right. So with this, play around with the threshold, the gain, the release, and you know, I'm not an expert on compression, and really, I'm not much of a sound engineer. I would say I try my best, but they're things that you can look up. I play it by ear. I kind of know what the gain basically is, how much it will come down on here. So the more you bring this up, the less it will basically come down on the graph. I've brought it down to sort of a level where I thought it sounded best. Basically, the threshold is basically the yellow marker on here. So if I play, it doesn't do anything. It's below. When it goes below the threshold, that's when it starts doing its thing. But it's above where the rumble is, basically. So that's what I'm setting it to. The release means that it doesn't crackle, and you've got more obviously release between the way that when the waveform is being acted by the noise gate. So I do this for each individual channel basically, and set them so that again, if I take the limiter off this one, see this particular think break has got such a nice reverby like kind of sound to it. It's kind of classic and synonymous with the break, but as you can probably hear, even on the mids, it's almost like a natural reverb that's in the room when it was recorded. When I add the limiter, you can see it's just a bit more snappy. And again on the highs, so limiter's back on that one, yeah. So take the highs off, and again you'll probably able to, in fact the highs was really strange as well, because the highs is where I could hear the most out of the kick drum, reverb, sorry, and that was really interesting to hear as well. I think that's the maximum. sort of hear it, boom, like kind of like a nice airy kind of thing to the sound. But again, it's not something I'm looking for in this particular version of the sound. So again. So all together, they get bussed into what I call the gated sound. So they get chucked into another channel, which I parallel gate. This is another really cool technique that Fanu used, kind of using the same channel, but then also gating the gated channels to get the transient pops out of the sound. So if I basically if I just record this in by itself, move it up, you'll see the effect. So on input, here we go. So this channel here is the gated sound, and this is just pulling out the transients, as you can see. So like, so it's quite, that just adds to it brings back in because you can take away some of the gated sound on the main channels that you've been working with. You can then bring out more transients within this part, and then glue them together in a sort of parallel compressed way. So you've got basically the same channel running twice, but one's like a really, really gated, snappier, like. Like that. So after you've done that, basically you route and bus the gated main channel that you've sent to the other gate channel, and then you glue them back together into one. And this is where Maximus comes in. And this is where you get your perceived loudness. I've noticed I've set all the compressors to infinite, so there's no compression going on whatsoever. All I'm interested in is getting the best out of the break as a sample, like I said. So the ceiling I've set here, basically you've got a saturation point, which at the top you can see it here, and I set it to 0. So I've just set that. My hands are a bit wobbly because I have to hold the phone whilst I'm doing it, and I've got unsteady hands as it is. Yeah, really wobbly actually. Right, that's that done. And I usually set my breaks to -6 dB. Now, if you listen to this without Maximus on, we are absolutely smacking the crap out of that 0. I'm really over the top with that. Now, if you listen to it and see it, what it does in a minute, I've set this to -6, like I say. Now I think that sounds louder at -6 than it does when we're smacking and going above 0. That's perceived loudness for you. The main thing with that, you play around with the pre and the post volumes, and you basically just don't want to over distort it. So if I load this up again, and then what I'll show you on here is like, yeah, that's the end product, that sample. I'm just seeing how it worked on. I think that one's playing there. So with the Maximus, yeah, you're just getting a perceived loudness. Like all these techniques I use in the Sesame Street one as well. And the key to it, again, everything's the same on here. Low, mid, high, all bands, gated bands, and then they all get sent to a Maximus of -6 dB. Just because I like to work with that. What I then do is, so this is a sample at -6 dB. As you can see, this is a Sesame Street break, a different break, but same process. So I record that in and then obviously loop that. So bearing in mind, this is before I've done the secondary video, which I'll do tomorrow, which is EQing. So you can still hear, this is quite a rumbly break anyway. I mean, the Sesame Blowfly break is just by its nature a really like roomy, quite noisy break. But this is that's at -6. So when you normalise it, this is proper smacking it now. So yeah, that's how I do that gating thing. I've probably not explained it the best I can, but I'll try and go over that again tomorrow when I do the EQing side of it. So I did the EQing just for, you know, reference. I did the EQing yesterday, and I came up, this is the same break, but hopefully you'll hear less rumble. And the same goes for the think break. Here's the finished EQ. So yeah, I think that's amazing, to be honest, because not only the problem with like layering sometimes in EQing is that when you're working at different tempos, obviously the pitch will go down and up, and various points of your EQs will accentuate within, you know, because the breaks at different pitches and speeds. So once you've done this, and the best like sort of cleaning way of doing it dynamically is that you can use this sample and do it at any tempo, and it sounds great, like so. So if I just do the last bit again, just play this at like a lower tempo. See, it sounds fucking amazing at any tempo. So yeah, tomorrow I'll do the EQ inside of it, and yeah, we'll see how we go on that. But I'll show you how I made that. Big up yourself, keep it jungle, keep it old school, keep the vibe alive. Peace.